Hi, folks. Thomas Ginter here with Bandwidth. Today, I have Kevin Keto with 911 Secure. Kevin, why don't you give us just a quickie little introduction of yourself, and then we're going to dive right into a couple of questions I'm going to ask about your 911 products.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Kevin Keto. I am the president and CEO of 911 Secure. I've been in the industry for about 17 years now. So, gosh, I can't believe it's been that long. But yeah, when I say that, it's like, wow, 17 years. But yeah, I've been doing this for a really long time.
Why don't we start with a quick solution outline? Like, tell me about your Sentry product line in, I don't know, bullet form.
All right, sounds good. So obviously we partner with Bandwidth, but we also have some of our own products that we utilize to make it so that a customer has a complete enhanced 911 solution. The core of our solution set is Sentry, and Sentry does a lot of really cool things. One of them is provides on-site notifications. So when somebody makes a 911 call, we will alert on-site security staff, whatnot, that 911 call has been made. So it gets you compliant with Kerry's Law. And then it also provides for IP discovery. So if somebody picks up a phone and moves it, or logs out of a phone and logs in somewhere else, it can track that movement automatically. The user doesn't have to do anything. And then we also have our Gatekeeper product, which is become really vital in this day and age with COVID and all the issues of people working from home. What Gatekeeper does is it allows the end user to update their location information themselves when they're working remote, whether they're at home, a coffee shop, a hotel, along those lines. And then we also provide not just an enhanced 911 solution, but we also provide a next generation solution to be able to provide additional information to the public safety answer point other than just the address, building, and then dispatchable location to the PSAP.
That's awesome. Let's boil it down into a simple statement. What is the problem you're solving?
Gotcha. Yeah, so the big problem is when somebody makes a 911 call, everybody thinks that they're just going to get the location information automatically. What we do is, with all the behind the scenes work that we do, is we make it so that that actually does happen. Somebody makes a 911 call, the call gets routed to the right place, the 911 operator automatically gets the location information of where that call is coming from within the building, or if the person is working from home, their home address, so that the user literally doesn't have to do anything. They dial 911, which is what most people think. You pick up a home phone, you dial 911, they're going to get your home address, you don't have to do anything. That's really what we're trying to accomplish here.
So let's focus in on your customer segment. Who are you targeting this product at?
It's really for enterprise customers, and it's funny, people actually ask me that along. Well, what is your vertical? What's the vertical that you guys go after? And it's basically any company that has a phone system. I mean, if you have a phone system, there's probably a real need for an enhanced 911 solution, because you want to be able to make sure that not only are you giving the address of the building that the call is coming from, but also giving that dispatchable location. And, whenever companies have more than one site, definitely those users, anybody working from home. So it's really the enterprise customer that we're looking at to try and solve this for.
Okay. So why don't we go just a little bit more technically deep, and feel free to use jargon. We do have engineers that are listening to this. Like, how does it work?
Sure. So, I kind of mentioned this before. We have our Sentry software, and what we're doing is we're tracking the free movement of IP phones. That's one of the big issues that customers have is, in the digital analog world, nobody can move their phones on their own. When people started moving to IP, everybody's like, oh my gosh, people can move their phones on their own. We're not going to know where anybody's at. And so we developed Sentry in order to combat that issue, to be able to say, hey, we're going to drill down and find out where those phones are at. And there's a couple different ways that we can do that. We can do what's called layer 3 discovery, going by subnet. If customers' subnets are set up in such a way that makes sense for 911 purposes, like a subnet per floor, then that's a great way for us to do the tracking. Just say, hey, this is the IP range of the subnet. And when the phone moves in and out of those subnets, we know where that person's at. But we know that that's not the case for everybody. There's lots and lots of customers that have subnets that span multiple floors, or maybe the floor is just too large and they have a subnet per floor, but they have an east wing and a west wing. Well, then we have other ways that we can drill down deeper. We can do what's called layer 2 discovery, where we go down to all the way down to the individual switch port if we want to. So it's really dependent upon how granular the customer wants to get. And then we actually developed a solution for the federal government, because both of those layer 2 or layer 3 discovery, it does require us to scan the network. And the federal government just doesn't want sometimes things scanning their network. So we have a third method, which is our MAC locations tracker. We actually get the MAC address of the phone. We put it in a list table. When somebody logs into that phone, we get a push notification. So rather than us having to scan the network, we're getting a push notification. And then as far as actually routing the call, basically we just push the calls to you guys, and then you guys do your magic.
Right. So let's talk about that for just a moment. So clearly, on your side, facing that enterprise MLTS system, you're talking about layer 2, layer 3 IP address range, switch port, MAC addresses. You have what I would describe as an intimate integration with those systems. Mm-hmm. Then you're taking that call and you're processing it and processing the data and passing it to us. Talk a little bit about your integration with bandwidth, because folks are considering, us as a whole.
Yeah, and so with bandwidth, the way that our solution is to make it so that we can get calls pushed to you guys, it's very, very simple. There's two options. Some customers will push the calls via SIP. We'll just set up a direct connection to bandwidth via SIP, and that's a great way for calls to be pushed to you. But there's even another easier method for some customers where we call it PSTN push. So basically what they do is they just say if somebody dials 911 or 911, they have that programmed as well, that those calls will get translated into our PSTN access, or our PSTN access phone number that accesses the bandwidth system. So the calls get pushed to you guys that way. So with that, it's very simple. We have some customers that we get turned them up in a matter of days. There was actually one customer at the end of last year. We got the PO on December 26th. And they said, we need to get this up and running by the end of the year. And we kind of laughed and was like, yeah, that's not going to be possible. But amazingly, they were able to do it. They were able to do all their work on their side. We got our system set up, and then they started pushing calls. And you guys have the great 933 test system. We did a couple of test calls on the 30th, and then they were up and running by the 31st. And doing that and that ease of implementation, that's really what the power of the solution is. The power of our partnership with Bandwidth is that it's not a huge, heavy lift on the customer side, especially when we're talking about that PSTN push.
Yeah, and behind the scenes, of course, we've been working together for you and I personally for years. So that's great to see. So let's turn the page and let's, I think you either have a couple of slide pictures and or a quickie demo would be awesome.
Sure. This is one thing our customers really, really like about our solution, because this is completely PBX agnostic. It doesn't matter what type of a phone system they have. We can trigger it off alerts that we receive from you actually when the call is being triggered. So this can, say if a customer has a mixed environment, say they have Teams and Cisco and Avaya, the on-site notification alert can be the exact same, because the security staff, they don't care where the phone call is coming from. They just want to know where when somebody has dialed 911, and they want it to be the same thing. They don't want it to be, all right, if it's Cisco, we're going to get this type of alert. If it's Avaya, it's this type, and if it's Teams, it's this type. So this is a really powerful part of our solution, and this is our beacon screen pop. So this is something that'll pop up like on a front desk, on-site security, whoever they want to be notified that 911 has been called. These lights will be flashing. There'll be a loud noise coming from the speakers. And not only can this pop up, but we can also pull in additional data. So like if they want to link to an IP camera, temperature sensor, map of the building, this can pop up right alongside that beacon. We can also have a policies and procedures document pop up. This is something that a lot of our customers are really enjoying, having this access to this, because 911 calls are not being made every single day for most enterprises, at least we hope not. And so when this pops up, sometimes maybe the training that they got was 6 months or maybe even a year ago. And so to have this pop up alongside that beacon screen pop is really helpful for them, so that they can know what to do rather than just saying, hey, somebody has dialed 911. Here's exactly what they need to start doing. Okay. And then as far as the routing of the 911 calls, this is pretty simple. Like I said, it's just we route the calls to you guys route the calls to the correct servicing 911 center, whether it's a remote site or somebody who's working remote. We can get those calls routed to the correct servicing 911 center.
Okay, that was awesome. I think you have a quickie demo, Gatekeeper Screen. Can you show us that?
Yeah. And this is another thing that is completely, again, PBX agnostic. And this really is helpful, especially, again, in this day and age where people have a tremendous amount of people working remotely, working from home, and they could go to conferences and whatnot. So this is what Gatekeeper looks like. And so I have some old saved addresses on here, but if it was the first time that I was using it, or maybe the first time I was at a new location, the way that I provision a new address is I can either hit this plus button down here and I can manually type my address information in, or what most people end up doing is just clicking on this Find Me on a Map. This is really a nice feature, because a lot of times you don't know where you're located at, and it just automatically pulls your location, and it's pulling my home address. This is my home address. But if it wasn't, say this was the wrong address, I can actually just click on the map and I can pull up any address that I want, and it will automatically pull the address. So this is like, say you're at a McDonald's and it's right next door to a Starbucks and you get the wrong address. You can just click on the map and it'll automatically pull it. You can also edit the address. Like say you're at a hotel and you're on the 12th, oops, if I can type, the 12th floor, and you're in room 1234. You can validate that address. It'll put it in the normal abbreviations that the PSAP wants to see it in. We're actually interfacing directly with Bandwidth. So this is where we're getting these things to be able to change floor to FL and room to RM. I hit apply. I save this as one of my provisioned addresses. And if I want to set it as my address, I hit the little check mark. And that's going to stay my provisioned address unless I move. If I go to a friend's house or something along those lines, it's going to deprovision whatever address information I have set, and then it's going to start prompting me to update my location information. So the user doesn't have to remember to do anything. Gatekeeper is just going to be sitting there in the background waiting for that person to move and say, hey, where are you at, where are you at, where are you at? And then we have the tools for them to be able to update their address information. And they're literally updating the Bandwidth database. So right now, if I were to make a 911 call, that's the location information the 911 operator would receive.
That's real time. So that's really cool. So I think we are at time. Kevin, thank you so much. Any final words for the folks on the enterprise side who are going to be listening to this with rapt attention?
So, we didn't even get into our next generation, our NG91 solution. And that's one of the big differentiation points between our solution and really anybody else that's out there. And so if you wanted more information about that, please feel free to contact me. We'll do a demo for you personally.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.